Wow, good evening, good evening. Wasn't that such a long bio? Next time, make sure that I send the shortened bio of me. That was very long, and I would like to thank you for doing that, Mr. Taylor. And good evening to the Accounting Seminar 2021. It's my pleasure to be here with you to be sharing just a few nuggets of advice about your career, about the future, and really about the excitement that you should be having uh, about what's happening in the future. And I have a small slide deck which I will share with you, but I'll first tell you that it's an amazing time to be alive, I would say, for you right now, because we are going through a major technological shift. And the technological shift had been going on for some time before we had COVID, before COVID came around. But last year in 2020, what COVID did, it really accelerated the change, the rate of adoption that's happening with digital technologies. And even you as accounting majors, you will start to see that change in your industry. So one of the things that I want you to keep with you always is the fact that you're going to be in a state of change and to be preparing for that. And it's okay to be able to roll with the punches, as they say. Because of this technological change, there's going to be a lot of opportunity to create new processes and to do new things that have never been done before. So the state of your sort of static for, say, the last 25, 30, even 40 years. But this technological change is really going to allow for new ways of thinking. So it's a wonderful time to be young and to be innovative and to be thinking about the future. I also, in preparing for this seminar, I found a slide deck that I wanted to share with you. The work is not mine, but the words definitely were very powerful, and I felt like it was important for me to share this with you. This deck is a deck from Reid Hoffman. Do you guys know who Reid Hoffman is? Does someone want to say who Reid Hoffman is? Does anybody know? Okay, I'm going to tell you who Reid Hoffman is, and you should know who Reid Hoffman is. Reid Hoffman is the guy that invented LinkedIn. And if you are not on LinkedIn right now, I would like for you to go out and establish an account tomorrow. And I want you to look for me on LinkedIn, and I want you to ask me to be your friend on LinkedIn, and you'll learn more about why that's important. But this is a presentation that Reid Hoffman put together, and this is his career advice for college graduates. And everything that he says in here is important, and I want to share with you. And I will also add my commentary as we go through the deck, okay? So he said that obviously being in the CEO of LinkedIn, he gets a lot of advice from students, and he hears a lot of concerns from college graduates, right? And a lot of college graduates say that they don't feel ready. Don't feel ready to go out there and do what it is you've been learning and teaching for all these years to do. And of course, we all know that college is to prepare you for surviving and getting a job and thriving in the world of work. That's, you know, a preparatory. But I just told you that the world of work is changing, and it has changed. And so in order to take advantage of that, we're seeing that you're going to have to be very flexible and creative, because those traditional career paths that have been the hallmark of your industry are disappearing and changing due to these technological advances. And competition we're seeing is coming from a lot of places, and especially when we think about technology, we're seeing that competition is coming in from systems like artificial intelligence, right? and the changes are happening very, very fast. So what we see is the rate of change happening quick and the impact of change being very, very strong, getting stronger every time that it happens. And I know you may be feeling anxious and thinking about your career moving forward, or even, coming up on your graduation and thinking about your future. But I want you to know it's okay. He said this, and I want you to know that it will be okay, and it is okay. It's okay to feel that level of animosity, because things are changing very quickly. And the uncertainty that you're feeling about the future, I don't think it'll ever go away, but I think you can prepare for it, and you can actually make sure that you don't enter into anything without thinking about it and having a plan. And managing your career really is about lifelong learning and this process of lifelong learning. So you went to school, and right now your interests are in accounting, but your interests may change over the course of your career for many different reasons. You could be going into your career, and then you get another opportunity to do something different, and you have to learn again. That's what happened to me, actually, when I graduated from my university. I had a degree in sociology, and I was going to go into sociology and be a social worker. That was what I wanted to do. But one of the first jobs that I got coming out of college was working for this company named Oracle in California, and I didn't know anything about any of the technology that they sold or even the industry. So I found myself having to really just learn. I had been studying my craft for 4 years, and the job that I got, I had to start over and learn again. So just know that when you are graduating and when you're working in the world of adulthood, it's always about continuous learning. This guy said he thought he knew what he wanted to do, and as I said before, I thought I did too. He was wrong, and I was wrong as well. Sometimes it's hard to predict your career path as much as you want to plan, and dynamics like what's happening currently in the world with COVID, with the technological revolution, certainly can impact your plans. And so you just have to make sure that you are looking out and just following your passion for what you like. Here, he was doing a job, and it didn't have a name. He didn't know what the name was before, software engineering and being an entrepreneur. But he was being an entrepreneur. And I want to encourage all of you all to think about how you can be an entrepreneur. And one of the things that I would say is you can be an entrepreneur on your own, external, and own your own company. And you can also be an entrepreneur inside of a big company. I had a lot of success in my career at Simmons, the big German engineering company, by taking a big entrepreneurial approach to looking at solving problems inside of the company that no one else really wanted to tackle, because maybe it wasn't the sexiest jobs or the most high-paying job, but it was a problem. And just being entrepreneurial, even inside of big companies, is one way that you can be successful. So in doing that along your career, you're going to learn what success and failure is. I think it's interesting that, there's a couple things that you're going to figure out along the way in your career. These things aren't necessarily in textbooks, although you're learning a lot of really great things in your textbooks. And you might not hear about them in school that much unless you're taking very specific courses. And of course, we're not going to make you wait a long time to figure it out, because we're going to tell you what those are today. And really, in your career moving forward, you want to look at your competition, you want to look at your networks, and you want to look at the risks that are around you in any scenario that you're looking at. One of the things that I noticed it early on is, being different in your career and being different on your job is okay. And actually, it's a strength. So being able to think differently about solving various problems, that's what employers are looking for as an entrepreneur. That's what you want to do. And I would say right now, you may know very specifically about what you want to do, and you may not. And you may not know exactly what you like. And there might be a lot of different things to choose from, right? So you're trying to figure out, how do I zero in on that thing that I love? I think these are all, and he says it as well, variations of the same career question that we all ask ourselves. What should I do with my life? Why am I here on earth, right? We always are thinking about that. And if you are not thinking about that, I encourage you to do that, actually. Take some thought and say, why am I here? Why did God bring me here? What's my talent for this earth? Okay, so the one thing that you should do is put yourself in the middle of it and try to figure out what you want to do, not what your mom and dad want you to do, or your husband or your boyfriend, or even what your friends are pressuring you into doing. Just really seriously think about what it is you love and what your passion is at, right? Every time we are picking out our career, we're thinking about what everybody else is thinking and not necessarily what we really, really want to do and what we love. A lot of people want to do your dream job, what you want to do, right? And so there is a lot of competition. And if you don't know this now, anything that's worth having or anything that is considered valuable or desirable, people will be competing with you for it, right? So in order to be competitive and have a winning perspective, what you want to do is to develop your competitive advantage, right? But you're thinking, oh, what's competitive advantage? What is that made of? So in order to be competitive, you need to have a basket of a few things. You need to have assets, you need to have aspirations, and you really need to think about what your market realities are, okay? So assets are the things you have going for you right now. That would be your brain, all of that brain power that you have learned at the university, all these 16, 17 years of learning that you have been putting in. That is your wealth. That is the asset that you have, right? Your aspirations are what you want to do or what you might like to do, what you are interested, but you may not know. It might also be a very strong passion of yours. That's your aspiration. So kind of knowing what that is. And then the market realities are actually what people are going to pay you for, right? So what is it that people are going to give you money for? So really need to keep those at the top of your mind. And the best career that you can have is one that has you pursuing your aspiration in life, using your assets while navigating the market realities. What are they going to pay you for that, right? And try to make sure that you are positioning yourself in the best possible way. Another question that a lot of people struggle with is like, how do I make a positive difference in the world? And that's what I was always focused on, coming from Jamaica and growing up in the country. I'm from Mandeville. I saw a lot of poverty, and I knew right away that I wanted to help people. That's why I went to study sociology. I knew that I wanted to make a difference in people's lives, that in turn, make a difference in the world. Right? And I think that you underestimate yourself as a young person, and you think that you don't have a lot to offer, especially when you're thinking about your work experience. You don't really think big about all those things that we consider work. and you underestimate yourself, you undervalue yourself because you're not thinking in totality of who you are. And the fact is that you have existing assets and you have value already. All of the knowledge and the body of knowledge that you have learned up until this part is an asset for you. And one of the big things also is knowing how valuable your existing skills and the connections are to those that don't have them, because a lot of people want the skills that you have. So don't underestimate even one thing that might be special or unique about you. What you should do though is when you're thinking about making an impact in the world is just ask, how can you help others? How can you be a servant to others? And you'll learn to understand what other people, what their needs are, what they might need, what they might want. So just have an open ear, be very, what would I say? Just be sympathetic to the plight of people, because you never know what someone is going through. You don't know what they've had to go through. So just try to put yourself into other people's shoes, right? And then you actually, to be really successful in helping people, think about fulfilling needs and solving problems. And if you focus on that, I promise you, you can change the world. Now let's talk about the power of networks. This guy, Reid Hoffman, started this company, LinkedIn, right? And it is the world's largest professional network. That's what he markets right now. So let's think about who you are in your network right now. So you have all had a wonderful time, I'm sure, before COVID came and disrupted everything, living in the dorms and interacting with each other on a personal level and really making all of those wonderful relationships. And building relationships is easy when you're in person and when you can talk to somebody and you can feel their energy. But in the real world, when you get out there to work, you have to build your network. You have to connect. You have to reach out to people. So you have to have a level of proactivity. You have to be proactive about making sure you can make those connections, because your connections and your network and your relationships are probably one of the most valuable assets that you have right now that you may or may not have paid for, right? Because in life, not just in your job, everything boils down to interacting with people, right? Every decision that you need to have made, every resource, every opportunity for information right now, before the digital transformation, people control that. So you need people to give it to you, and you need to figure out how to get people to give it to you. And that has a lot to do with your persuasion. That has a lot to do with your articulation and how you make people feel as well. So make sure that you are reaching out and creating those networks, and they don't happen haphazardly, right? You have to seriously engineer those connections. For example, if you want to go work for Google in California, in San Francisco, wonderful city, by the way, you may need to make some connections, and you're going to have to figure out who knows who, how can I get to someone that is at Google. Maybe you want to find someone that has a Jamaican background or someone from the diaspora to contact. Then you would need to make your connections, right? So make sure that you are always building your relationship with people right now. And if you're looking for opportunities and jobs, as I said, you're looking for that person in Google that has that connection to you. May have that connection through them being from Jamaica, may have that connection through a family, through an interest area, but really always seize the opportunity to make that connection with someone, and make sure that you're surrounding yourself with people who you want to become and be. I know your parents and everybody has told you that your whole life. It really is true. Make sure that you are surrounding yourself with the right people. Hang out with people who are successful, people who are in the industries or in the spaces that you want to be in, right? And the best way to meet people is through people. So you network. So making sure that you are building and keeping that network. And you may not think that you know people or even the right people, but this example here shows that you're really, really bigger than you think. Look at this example from LinkedIn. If you are on LinkedIn right now, invented by that guy, Reid Hoffman, and you're connected to about 100 people on LinkedIn, you actually have a network of almost over 2 million people, right? To be able to talk to interact with. Someone like me, and I want you to go out there and link in with me, I have over 3,000 or 4,000 professional connections on LinkedIn. So that means I have several million people in my network. So that's great for you to be able to hook up with me because I have an open network. Anybody that's in my network can connect with other people. It's open. So it's pretty likely that you already know someone that could help you, know someone that knows someone. So the real story here is in the power of the network, the extended network, and really your relationships. So make sure that you're doing everything that you can to build your relationships. Now, the last point I want to share with you is that your career, you're going to have to take some risk. You know what's really, really interesting is when we're in education, they don't like you to fail, right? When you fail, you get a big fat F, and that's not good. But let me tell you something. In the real world and in work and business, failure is compulsory. If we don't fail, we're not moving forward because we have to fail, we have to take risks to move forward. So you have to try and know that in trying, you're gonna fail. You're gonna mess up somehow, but that's part of the process and you have to take risk in life. You're going to have to take risks in your career, right? So you wanna make sure that you're always doing, you're always trying, and to know that by doing, you're gonna fail, and failure is not bad. It's bad in some places, but it's actually good in business, right? For example, you're in accounting and hey, we know the pharmaceutical industry, guys, is gonna be very, very big. COVID is really blowing that industry up. So maybe you wanna be an accountant that is serving the pharmaceutical industry, but you don't know anybody. So maybe you want to see if you can make some connections with someone that works at one of the pharmaceutical companies. Here's Pfizer. Pfizer is one of the companies that just made the new the new vaccine, the new vaccine. So Pfizer would be an excellent company actually to target to go work for. They're going to be making a lot of money, right? Or maybe you're in accounting and you want to get into something else because your love is really maybe in marketing, or you want to create a product, you know? So you're going to have to make sure that you look out for those resources and you take every opportunity to get that experience. And sometimes you're not going to get paid for it. If I told you how much times I have worked for free, you guys would probably be amazed. I give away a lot of my time on a daily basis, and it's really because of the experience helping someone. So don't always look for payment when you're doing stuff. Sometimes you have to volunteer because there's this thing called karma, and you got to know that what goes around comes around. You put in some free stuff now and it'll come around and bless you. So just make sure that you might need to volunteer if you want to take another opportunity, right? But really the moral of this story is that everything is about action. You have to take the action. And I'm going to tell you that when I was thinking about retiring from my big career in Germany and coming back to Jamaica to help with the transformation here, I remember a specific trip and I went to Germany and I was having dinner in this wonderful castle. with one of my colleagues, and I was telling him, I really thinking I'm going to leave and I want to go home. I'm just something in me and I have to go home. And he said, Erica, you got to take the action. Take the action, do it, take the bull by the horns. You won't regret it. It may not be easy, but you have to continue to move forward. And if I failed, if it didn't work out and I had to go back to the US, at least I can say that I tried and I did my very, very best. So go, take that action. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to fail at all. And really, in college, they tell you that the most successful students are the ones that make the fewest mistakes. The ones with the highest grade point averages don't mess up very much. But you've got to take those risks. And you may assume that you can get career stability by just sitting somewhere and being comfortable. But I can tell you that that is never going to happen as well. Because playing it safe, you don't always win in that regard. And I want to tell you too that one of the things that I've learned as well is that the story about if I check all these boxes, I'll get X, Y, Z. Like they said, for the white picket fence, I'm going to need to check like these 10 boxes. And if I check the 10 boxes, I'll get it. That's not true. You can have all those boxes checked. You can have everything and it still doesn't work out. So I would say, just continue to strive, continue to think outside of the box, and you don't have to take the same pathway. Sometimes the pathway to what you love is not a direct path, and you got to go around a few corners and bends and go get distracted for a little bit before you can come back to what you love. But I would say don't, especially when you're young, before you have kids and before you have a husband or a wife, take the risk, do everything that you ever wanted to do, because when you get those responsibilities, you're not going to be able to leave as quickly as you want to do. You're not going to be able to take those risks because you have lots of responsibilities. So some of those risks might mean leaving a job and taking less because you're going to want to do something else, just like I did when I retired and came to Jamaica. But that's okay. Also, just make sure that you are learning and make sure that you're doing plans that give you the best chance to be who you are and make your best contribution to the world, right? Don't miss out on something because somebody tells you that it's hard or it's risky. Maybe it's risky and hard for them, but it's not for you. So make sure that you are doing your due diligence and that you are actually making sure that you are turning over every stone. And don't just believe something because somebody else says it's hard to do it. It might be hard for them, but it might not be hard for you. And I would tell you that when you do mess up and stuff happens, you made a bad decision or the decision you made didn't work out, just know that everything is survivable, right? And know that sometimes you have to walk away from opportunities, and that should be a risk you should be willing to take, except for there are a couple of risks that I don't think you want to take. You don't want to take any risk that's going to seriously tarnish your reputation and bring disgrace to yourself, your family. Don't do it. Don't take a lot of risks that are going to totally blow all your economic assets. Don't put your money in some risky investment and then the next week it's all gone. So make sure that you are taking very, very calculated risk and risk that are not going to completely ruin you. All right. There's always going to be uncertainty in your career. There's always going to be questions about the future. And I think as a young person, the ones that have the most questions are the ones that are going to probably pop up a lot. They're the ones that are always going to be knocking on your door, the ones that may not be as clear or have more risk. But I think you should definitely take a look at those opportunities and don't let those opportunities pass you by. Um, that then ends my presentation. I wanted to say good luck to all of you in your career. Just from what I've heard in the very beginning, you have just a very professional organization here in this seminar. And I know you have done such hard work over these years to get to where you are. The end of your college career and your tertiary career will be the beginning of your life and your career and what you have been preparing for all these years. Go out, be prosperous, make yourself, your family, and most of all also make our country proud, because you're representing the future of Jamaica. And I am very, very happy. And I think that you guys have everything that it takes to usher in the digital transformation that we need to have for our country, right? Every one of us, and I want to tell you this, as citizens of Jamaica should be screaming from the mountaintops that we want the digital transformation. We want to become a more efficient society. We want to become a first world society in terms of our digitalization. It's going to make everything that we are experiencing here a lot better. So as young people, and as someone who is a torchbearer for the digital transformation, the fourth and the fifth industrial revolutions, I say good speed, and I want you to go out and transform the world for us. Thank you very much. Accounting seminar. That ends my presentation. I don't know if we have time for questions or whatever, but you are more than happy to ask questions of me as well. And remember, go out on LinkedIn and link me up on LinkedIn. Make sure you go out and establish your account, because you're going to need it for your professional career.
Wow, Miss Simmons. Miss Simmons, you're there?
Yes, Mr. Perry, I'm here. I'm here.
Thank you so much. Wow, that was a whew, finish already. Oh, wow.
No,
I was well in tune. That was well done, well said, well put together. I think you should start uploading some motivational videos, because I am certainly ready to listen and to be a part of that, your team. As you talked, I went online and I downloaded the app, and I was looking for you, and I saw so much Erica Simmons.
Erica Simmons at CMU. Yes.
CMU. But
Yes.
I got on immediately after you started talking, because I was really impressed, and I really want to say wow. I'm sure that many of our students here have questions. Just before we say a big thank you, I want you to answer a few questions if you're able to.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so much. Let me just check on the many hands that are raised. But before that, I have one question that I'd like to ask before anyone. Go ahead, Ms. Simmons.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So my question is, what were some of the major challenges you faced, and the methodology with which, sorry, you used to conquer such challenges? Because I looked at your resume and oh my, your accolades there so much, and I know it wasn't an easy journey, so you must have had external and internal challenges. So can you just share a bit those challenges and how you overcame them?
So I would say my very first challenge was the fact that I went to college to study about sociology, and then when I went to work, I had to learn everything from scratch. So that was a challenge in terms of being open and being ready to learn, because I think what college also does is it teaches you how to learn, right? We know we're going to all the classes. So knowing that you're going to have to learn and be open for that, right? So I was always just a curious child and a curious person. I still consume a lot of information that I just want to know about. Sometimes it's not even anything that I'm gonna, use, but I still want to read about it. Like, for example, I'm reading about space, and I'm reading about what's happening, with artificial intelligence, and sometimes I read about gardening. I mean, I read about a lot of just crazy stuff from all over the place. And it's just really to increase my knowledge. So just be ready to learn whatever you need to learn. Secondly, I would say that being a woman and being a Black woman in the tech industry in the United States was very difficult for me because I was always different. I never looked like anyone. I didn't talk like anyone. My intellect and my ability to grasp things were different as well. I think how I overcame that is you always got to have a great personality. Just always be positive. Always try to strive to do what you can. Be a team player, right? So I found myself just taking the lead and being a team player and pulling people together and galvanizing teams. So I got to a point where I was starting to be the team leader because I knew how to get people to play together because I was always the oddball. So I knew how to make people feel good about being different or, being outcast. So I used to pull together a lot of teams of people that may not have gotten together because of my connecting type of personality, being positive. I'm willing to take on anything. I was at the point where I appointed myself to do stuff. So I was very successful in corporate diversity at Simmons, which they needed to because they didn't have any Black people. It was a whole company of white men. I mean, when one of the CEOs came, he said they're too German, too white, and too male, and it was all over the company. But I never let that stop me, right? I mean, as Jamaicans, I think we have a level of persistence in us that, really makes us successful. So just try to solve every problem that you can. Whenever there is an obstacle, I'm going to tell you too that you're going to find people that aren't going to support you for whatever reason. Sometimes you don't even have to do anything. Sometimes it could just be someone don't like you for whatever. You're a woman, you're a man, you come from country, you come from the city, your hair is curly, your hair is straight. Some of that stuff doesn't have any rhyme or reason. What I would say is just try to see if you can get through that and continue to stay at a professional level. Never let anybody take you down in the work site, in the job site, right? Let me see what else. Willing to do whatever, as I said before, willing to be an entrepreneur inside of businesses. Even if you can't be your own boss, you can be an entrepreneur. You could go find problems that you can solve and help them to solve. And I found that to be very successful. And in my career is just doing some of the things that nobody else wanted to do. It's easy for me to do though, so finding those opportunities to add value when nobody asks you to do that kind of stuff, right? So those are just some examples of just overcoming, not fitting in, not knowing, not having the knowledge that I thought, I needed to be successful. Don't let any of that stuff discourage you from what you want to do.
Okay, finish? Yes, Ms. Simmons?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that, for your outstanding response. We are really listening and taking notes as you speak. So thank you again. I have two more questions, but before I ask my question, is there anybody else who would like to ask Ms. Simmons a question at this time?
Yes, Mr. Perry, sorry about that. I might not, my hand not, I'm not seeing the option from my hand.
Okay, Mr. Hussey, you may go ahead.
Good evening, Accounting Seminar 2021. I'm Shane Hussey, Director of Research Committee. Good evening, Mr. Simmons. A lot of time, most if not all organizations have their goals and objective to be successful. But the thing is that a lot of time person merely focus on the organization objective and not meeting there. How can you incorporate like your objective and the organization objective without in separate or stem from your main objective?
Well, first of all, if somebody's paying you money, you better give them what they paying you for it. So make sure you do a job. That's the first level of advice. Make sure you're always doing your job and you're delivering what they want. So once you have that box checked, job done, then you can go and look for those other things. Like in Siemens, I was a marketing manager in product development and I was doing my job over here, but I clearly saw that there was an opportunity to lead people on the diversity side, to start our employee resource groups, to put together these programs that nobody was doing. And that was the social side of the job that was really passionate for me because it was speaking to my sociologist and all of that. It was really social give back within the company is what I was doing. So what I would say is make sure you're doing those people's job because they will fire you if you're not doing your job. Secondly, see where you can add value in your area of passion. And I would say anything to do with volunteering or anything to do with making sure that you're helping the community. That's, you know, and even maybe lobbying the company if you have a interest area for them to support that. Those are things that you can do where you can make sure that you're doing your job and you're also highlighting or bringing awareness to those topics that you like. Was that okay? Do you have a follow-up?
No, miss, it's okay. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Mr. Hussey. Any other questions for Ms. Simmons?
Yes, Mr. Perry.
Okay, all right, Mrs. Sterling?
Yes.
Yes, you may go ahead, madam.
Good evening, Accounting Seminar. Good evening, Mrs. Simmons. My name is Dolores Morris Sterling, one of the facilitators on the module. Now, I hear you telling the students to, if they have not yet done so, activate a LinkedIn account because it is one of the easiest ways to network. I know like many social sites, you have persons who will send you friend requests and you choose to accept or reject some of those. It is a professional site. And as newbies to LinkedIn, is it okay or do you accept all the requests that you get?
I do. I used to be very selective and deny and, you know, no. But I do. It doesn't matter who comes and wants to link with me. I will definitely accept your invitation. Now, I notice that sometimes they will come in your inbox and they want to sell with LinkedIn. So they want to sell you something. I normally ignore those. I don't respond to those when they send me something. I just, you know, delete it. I don't respond unless I'm interested. But for the most part, I do accept, and people from all walks of life. It doesn't matter. I mean, I have people that are in industries that I would never be in, that I would never even know. People from Bangladesh and Pakistan and all over the place. But I don't get the 4X ones, but I do get a lot of people requesting, and I do accept. So you may want to accept or not. Some of that stuff might be spam. But if you get into the right network, you'll start to see a lot of people will want to link in with you because you're a university student or that you work at a certain place. But for example, I would get on LinkedIn and try to make sure that you're reaching out to maybe the alumni from your university, because they're all going to want to, link in with you. But that's a great question. I have seen, and I've been on LinkedIn for probably 10 years now, I have seen the uptick in the use of it for sales and different other types of things. But I normally don't engage in accepting any sales propositions on LinkedIn, but I will network with you.
So for those of us or students who will join, it's twofold. You are, let's just say that at this point we can call you an established person. So for you, it is more about the persons who are connecting with you, but for the students, it would be them connecting to persons, because you want to at least start building your network. So do I send to everybody? That's really the question that I'm asking on their behalf, right? Do you connect with everybody, or do you want to connect with, as you said earlier, the persons who you want to become, in essence?
To do both.
Okay.
First of all, when you sign up on LinkedIn, it will ask you to connect everybody in your address book. So you may want to do that. You may not want to do that. So that's the first place to start. Link in with the people that know you. They're going to accept your invitation. Then secondly, I would link in with your alumni at your university, your professors at the university, link in with them. And then you can start to look at your industry sector or your employers that you want to go work with, and you can link in with them. What's nice about LinkedIn is it'll tell you that if you have any connections in common. So I also look as well as if someone tries to link in with me, it will tell me that I have 4 connections in common. That means either they've worked with some of the people I've worked with, or perhaps they have, I met them at a conference and we know similar people. So I would start with a strategy of my address book, people I know in my family, uncles, aunts, other people that you know that are professionals that are on LinkedIn. Then go to the university, other people in your tertiary, your school, and then to the industry and start to build that way. And you're going to be surprised. You're probably going to know a lot more people in there there's a lot of people on LinkedIn that you probably did not realize was there before.
Indeed. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. It was a good question.
Thank you, Ms. Simmons, and thank you, Mrs. Sterling, for such an important question. Is there any other question for Ms. Simmons at this time? Well, Ms. Simmons, it's true that network builds net worth, right? Because you spoke about networking. And I believe that network builds your net worth. So having the right connections, as you spoke about earlier, can give you the mobility you need to drive you where you need to go in your professional career, that's right. Isn't that so, Mrs. Simmons? Miss Simmons?
Yeah, definitely. And your relationships, don't let anybody devalue or not give you what your relationships are worth, because they'll try to use you. They're going to use you for your relationships. They are going to try to go around you and take your relationship away. But what I have learned is that every relationship that you establish is worth $1 million in gold. And the slides show you the power of the network. So your relationships are important and they're valuable, and don't let anybody just say, oh, just give me that, or just introduce me to that person because you know them. No, first of all, in some cases, you may want to vet. Why are you talking to that person? Because you don't want to necessarily make a connection to someone and then they're not treating your relationship or your person on the other side in the right way, or they're using them or taking advantage of them. So make sure that you're holding your relationships very close. You are making sure that you can maintain them, and don't let anybody just say, oh, that's, you know, that's nothing. Because the Rolodex, especially in sales and probably in accounting too, is the black book with all the numbers and the contacts and the relationship, that is worth a lot. So don't let anybody underestimate your black book or your relationships that you have, because it's very, very important. It is your worth. It is your wealth. It's your wealth. Because as the slides show, it's your connection to people, right? And everybody is linked. We're all linked and we're all connected to each other. So don't let that part of the link get devalued because someone wants to take that away from you or take advantage of what you've built.
Thank you so much. And finally, I have one final question again. You spoke, a part of your presentation, you spoke about, in the earlier part of your presentation, you spoke about you solving internal issues in the organization you were in, Simmons. How important and what are the benefits of taking initiatives in trying to solve problems that people shy away from within the organization, within the workplace, or within your circle?
Okay, so I would say that a couple things on this. So employers love you to take initiative. They want you to tell them that over the weekend I was looking at this particular part of the company and I was doing some research and I think we can do XYZ to improve our performance, right? So any initiative for the company that saves money or makes money, your employer is going to want to definitely listen to you, right? And I would say also that they respect when you are, trying to help. They do. I would also say, just to make sure that you're picking the right things to do as well at the right time. Because an initiative that you're trying to solve may be a great idea, but the timing may not be right. So that's when you have to have a lot of emotional intelligence to know about the organization, to understand the dynamics of what's going on, to understand if it's the right time to do something like that. And timing, everything is about timing, right? You can try something at one time and it fails, and you could do the exact same thing at another time and it's successful. And that's been my experience as well. So, you try to do an initiative or come up with a program and it's just not the right time, or you're not getting the support from management that you need. Maybe you need to put that down for a little bit, come back around to it, or try to find something that maybe isn't as complex. For example, when I had my baby, and by the way, it's my son's 16th birthday today, so everybody can say happy birthday to my son. When I came back from my maternity leave, there was nowhere in the company for me to pump my milk when I was pumping my milk and feeding my baby later on. And that inconvenience led me to put together a whole initiative for the company that says we need to have these mothers' rooms where mothers that are returning from work can have a place where they can have a chair. I can put my milk, I can put it in the refrigerator, and I can have a place so that I can feel more integrated when I return back to work, right? So in the beginning, that may not have been a good idea. The timing wasn't right, but it just so happened that that was around the time kind of a lot of women's rights issues coming on board. And so when I did take it to the Vice President of Human Resources, he was actually happy to see the initiative because it was something that he could show the women in the company that they were supportive of mothers returning back to work. And I made it easy for him. So I did the thinking, you know, I was a mother, so I knew we need to have a chair. We need to have a sink in the room. We need to have a door that has a lock on it. We need to make sure that we have a recliner, you know, and I laid the plan out. So make sure that you are thinking about how to solve problems, and also be thorough. When you come with a problem to be solved, you say, here's my idea on how we can solve it. And they may say, oh, you have these 5 things and I hate 3 of them, but these 2 that you have on there, we can really work it and nurture it. So that's an example of being entrepreneurial. Nobody asked me to do that. It wasn't an issue that was such a high priority for the company, because remember, I worked with a whole bunch of men. They didn't know that. They didn't know that that was a problem for me. So it was great to be able to be that catalyst and to see so many people benefit from that work. So make sure that you are picking initiatives that are important to the company and that the timing is right for those. And when you're bringing them forward, bring them forward with a level of completeness. Don't just say, oh, I think I want to do the mother's room. You should have some, you know, rooms for mothers. And then they're like, duh, how do I do that? You want to say, okay, here's a quick plan. Here are 5 things that you could do. So make sure that you are coming with a solution and not just a one-word solution, right? Because your employer is really gonna appreciate that. And thank you so much for all the happy birthdays to my son. I will let him know. We're about to cut cake in a little bit too.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Simmons. Ms. Lambert, you have your hands raised. Your hand is raised.
Hi, Ms. Simmons. Janet Lambert here. Quick question for you. So, as part of selling one's self, one must have a professional resume. And the professional resume is what we use to sell ourselves, you know? An individual will not be seeing us, etc. But whatever is on our resume, that's what we're going to use to make an impact. Our students in seminar here, they have to present a professional resume as part of the requirement. So I'm hoping you'll be able to, you know, maybe talk to them about some things that are very important for them to ensure that they include on their resume in terms of how it looks, etc., so they can sell themselves the right way. Thank you.
Okay, that's an awesome question. So the resume, oh my gosh, the resumes have taken on a whole new life. When I was doing resumes, they were just regular old things. But now, you know, I'm seeing a level of polish on the resumes now. The ones where you have your picture, where there's a little sidebar that talks about all these profile things of who you are, and then make sure you get a nice template. And one of those new nice templates that have your picture on it and it looks like a brochure. That's the best resume to me to have. Things that you want to have on there, if you don't have a lot of job experience, that's fine. When you don't have a lot of chronological job experience, what you want to do is highlight your skills. So you may want to have paragraphs where you're talking about your different skills. You may want to show projects that you have done that aren't necessarily employer projects. It can be a project for your church. It can be a project for your community. What you want to make sure that you are showing is that you have initiative and you're participating. You definitely want to include all of the things that you're doing on all your societies, such as this accounting society. You want to, and all of the stuff that you're doing on here, make sure that you put that down so you can show them that you're a great leader. You want to put any education or even any outside education that you're having, any certificates or certifications that you have as well. And what's nice is to have a couple reference letters, because everybody's going to ask for a reference letter. What you want your reference letter to do is to ask, have a generic one. Like I had a employer one time give me a generic reference letter, and it just said, you know, Erica's a great worker, and she's, you know, very collaborative, and she can be anything that she wants to be, and I endorse her for any position that she wants to have. So you can have a couple of canned endorsement letters from people, your pastor, you know, people that you've worked with before. Even your professors at school are able to give you those endorsement letters that will go a long way to go with your resume as well. I want you also to work on your presentation skills and your articulation. So of course, Jamaicans, we have awesome articulation. You guys all have a wonderful vocabulary, and your English is very, very good. Even though you may not think so, the English is very, very good. So you're always wanting to make sure that you're presenting yourself in a very confident manner. You want to be able to be vocal so people can hear you. The last thing you want is when you're talking to someone to be listening to someone that's whispering very low because they don't want to talk, because they have, you know, no, you want to be confident in your delivery. You want to show that you are a professional, and all the things I'm sure that you're learning in your society here, you want to bring that forth in your interviews and have all of that stuff be on your resume. And as I said, get one of those new resumes. I need one myself, so if anybody wants to do mine, you can take all of that stuff and put it in one of those new templated resumes that make your resume look like a brochure or a book. That's what you want to do.